students, after discussing about meaning of tax, let's discuss about its various types. To start with, we are here to discuss about direct tax and indirect tax. Students, in order to know the difference between direct and indirect tax, we should know the meaning of these terms first. Impact, incidence, then tax evasion and shifting. To start with, we all know that direct tax is nothing. Direct tax is a tax on income. And indirect tax is a tax on commodity. What is the meaning of the term impact? Impact means immediate burden. You all know by the definition of a term tax that tax is a liability, tax is a burden. Tax is a burden which each and every individual or a company has to bear. Okay. So impact means immediate burden, initial burden which is there on a taxpayer, and incidence means final ultimate burden. With reference to direct taxes, impact and incidence is on a same person. It cannot be shifted in case of direct. Today also you are here to pay a certain amount of money as a tax, and tomorrow also the amount is to be deducted from your account only. Students, whether we are on a deathbed, there is no excuse. In case of direct tax, impact and incidence, immediate burden and final burden is always on a concern on a given taxpayer only. No tax shifting is possible. Whereas if we are here to discuss with reference to tax evasion, what do we mean by the term tax evasion? Tax evasion means to avoid it, to escape from the tax burden. So as we know that direct tax is nothing, it is a tax on income. Can we avoid it? The answer is, it can be yes, it can be no. How it can be yes or no? You know that we are here to generate income from different sources. If I am a government employee, if I am working with an institute, with a company, there I am withdrawing salary. So in that case, it's not possible for me to avoid my tax. I need to pay my annual tax as per my calculated income. But yes, if I belong to business community, there the presence of this feature is possible. We can show our less income, and accordingly we are here to get less amount to be deducted from our income. So with reference to direct tax, impact, immediate and ultimate burden, incidence is going to be on the same tax payer. No shifting is possible, and tax evasion is possible to a certain extent. Then we are here to discuss about indirect tax. What happens to impact and incidence in case of indirect tax? In case of indirect tax, as we know, it is a tax on commodity. So impact and incidence is on different persons. Impact means initial burden and incidence means final burden. So in case the indirect tax, tax on a commodity, producer is the producer. Producer is here to produce a thing. So it means in order to bring a thing in the market, he has to pay tax in the form of indirect tax, because tax on commodity is to be taken as indirect tax. So impact is on a producer. Immediate burden, the initial burden is definitely on a producer. Now producer will sell to whom? Producer is going to sell it to a wholesaler. So the producer is going to shift this burden to a wholesaler, and we are going to consider it as a first party. Wholesaler will shift it to a retailer, so it is going to be a second party. Retailer to a consumer. Consumer further is going to make a selling of it to a fourth person. So like this, in case of indirect tax, in case of tax on commodity, your impact, immediate burden will keep on shifting gradually to the stage till I am not able to get an end user of that product or a final user of that product. So in case of indirect tax, impact and incidence can be shifting. The presence of shifting is possible. Immediate burden is on some other person, and ultimate final burden is on some other person, right? Then there comes about a question of tax evasion. Whether do we have tax evasion in case of indirect tax or not? We all know that tax evasion is nothing, it is to avoid a tax. And which thing we can avoid, which is in my knowledge, indirect tax is a tax on commodity, and tax on commodity means the taxes are already involved in the prices of a product. So it is not sometimes it is not possible. Sometimes so even we don't even ask, we don't take a bill also. So in case of indirect tax, tax evasion is not possible, as it is not in my knowledge, and the thing which are not in my knowledge, it's not here to, not a question to avoid it. So indirect tax impact and incidence is on two different persons. Shifting is possible and tax evasion is not possible. For example, if I am as a student, you are here to buy a pencil, eraser, register or a book, you must have noticed that they have written MRP inclusive all taxes, means taxes are already included in the price, so it is not possible for me to avoid it, to evade it. So in case of indirect taxes, no tax evasion is possible. Right students, the examples to have direct taxes and indirect taxes, we are here to say like tax on income. So tax on income is your wealth tax, your you can say estate duty. They are all the examples of direct tax, your income. And then we are here to discuss the examples of indirect tax. There is no need to tell you, you all know about GST. GST is a goods and service tax, so it is a best example of indirect tax. Then we have excise duty. Students, you are must here to cover all the examples, because sometimes examples may be given and you are here to differentiate with reasons whether it is to be considered as a direct or indirect. With these two types, direct and indirect, we have got some other type of taxes also, which we classified into 4. To start with, I have got proportional taxation system, then we have progressive, degressive, and last we have regressive. To differentiate in these 4 types, students, we are here to know the meaning of these 3 terms first. What do we mean by tax rate? What is the meaning of tax base? And then finally, what is a tax burden? To start with, proportional taxation system. In case of proportional taxation system, your tax rate, the rate at which you are going to be given tax burden, it will remain same. And tax burden will vary as per your tax base. What is your tax base? It is your income. Let's say your tax rate is 10%. So it is going to remain same and it is varying as per your income. If your income is 10%, 10,000, you will pay 10% of that. If your income is 20,000, you will pay 10% of that. So this kind of system is to be called as a proportional taxation system. Then there comes progressive. As it is clear from the term progressive. Progressive means which keeps on moving. This is the only taxation system which is based upon a principle of ability to pay. It means if you are capable to pay, you pay the tax, otherwise there is no need to pay. So as per the definition, it means in case of progressive taxation system, we have got direct relationship in tax rate as well as tax base. More the tax rate base, more will be the tax rate. If your income is 10%, your tax rate is going to be 10%. If your income is 20,000, your tax base is rate is going to be 20%. Like this, more the income, more the tax rate, and accordingly your burden will also increase. And what will be your shape of the curve? It will be an upward sloping curve. It is showing the direct relationship, right? So this is your progressive taxation system. To continue with this, we are here to see, because taxation is the method through which I am going to reduce the inequalities between inequalities of income and wealth. And students, it is through progressive taxation system government can reduce inequality by imposing more tax on rich and imposing less tax on poor. So reducing the gap between rich and poor, we are here to make use of progressive taxation system. Then there comes degressive. Degressive is nothing, it is just a combination of, it is just a mixture of progressive plus proportional. Means to a certain extent, with the rise in your tax base, with the rise in your income, your tax rate will also rise, your tax burden will also rise. Upward direct relationship. But after that, let there be a more income, but your tax rate will remain same, and accordingly you are going to have a tax burden. I have already given you an example, like your income is 10%, your income is 10,000, you are going to pay 10% of that. Your income is 20,000, you are going to pay 10% of that. Students, you must have seen the different income brackets already introduced in the budget, that if your income is, hypothetically I am telling you, 10,000, below 10,000, there is no need to pay any tax. If your income falls like annually from 1 lakh to 5 lakhs, you pay 5% of this as a tax. If 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, your income is tax rate is 10%. 10 lakh to 20 lakh, your income is 30%. And then 20 lakh and above, your tax rate is going to be 40%. So it means to the first 4 slabs, it is progressive in nature, and in the last, it is going to be proportional. And let me tell you, in India, our income tax structure is based upon digressive taxation system. We have initially progressive, and after that we have proportional taxation system. Now last we have got regressive taxation system. What do we mean by regressive taxation system? Where we have an inverse relationship. Inverse relationship, tax rate and tax burden. What do we mean by this? I'm just giving you an example. Let's say that your GST is 10%. My income is 40,000. Your income is 80,000. And we both are interested to buy a mobile phone, right? And the cost of that mobile phone is hypothetically 28,000, right? So on 28,000, I need to pay 10% as a GST. Whether my income is 40,000 or my income is 80,000, it hardly makes any difference. The tax burden is going to remain same. So that is why in case of regressive taxation system, we study that there is an inverse relationship, because tax burden is more on poor and less on rich class. And in India, your tax on commodity, and tax on commodity is what? It is indirect tax, right? So indirect tax is regressive in nature, because we have more burden on poor as compared to rich, because the tax slabs are same. You know that GST is being introduced in the form of 5%, 10%, 12%, 18%. So we are not going to check out your salary statement. If you are going to buy a product and that product has to be given 10% category as a GST, you will have to pay 10%. So in case of regressive taxation system, it is going to be having inverse relationship, and it is not going to be on the basis of equity. It is equity means equal burden as per your income, which we have seen in case of progressive. So in India, your income tax, that is direct tax, is digressive in nature, and your indirect tax, that is tax on commodity, is regressive in nature. I hope students it's all clear to you. Take care.